Hello, this is Mary Bennett. The goal is to become familiar with jibing a sailboat. A jibe occurs whenever you turn the stern through the eye of the wind in order to bring the breeze onto the other side of the sail. Jibing is the downwind equivalent of tacking, a way to get from port to starboard, or vice versa. Many boats sail faster on a broad reach than on a run, so they use a series of jibes, first to one side and then to the other, to arrive where they're going, faster than if they sailed a short, straight line course. The essential difference between tacking and a jibe is the wind direction relative to the sail. When you tack, the wind rotates around the luff or controlled edge of the sail. When you jibe, the wind rotates around the leech or free edge of the sail. Thus, when you are tacking, the sail flutters across the boat with no wind filling it until the sheet is on the new tack. When you jibe, on the other hand, the sail always has wind filling it, except for the split second when it's swinging over the boat's center line. This means that jibing is potentially hazardous unless controlled, a more violent maneuver than tacking. It doesn't mean that you should be afraid to jibe your boat. As a matter of fact, a good sailor takes tacks or jibes with equal confidence as the situation demands, and you will practice until you do the same. But you need to be aware of the dangers that when you're running the boat, you need to be aware of the true wind strength, that when you are heading downwind, your boat's speed is subtracted from the true wind speed, and that the apparent wind you feel may be much less than the true wind. And when you come across, the boom may kind of slam across if you're not prepared and bringing it to center line, and it comes across with quite a crash if you're not ready for it. So watch your head and those of your crew. And the boom doesn't shout out a warning when it's coming across that cockpit, and more than one sailor has been hit and whacked on the head from an uncontrolled jibe. So you do need to follow protocol and bring the boom to center line and have a very controlled jibe. So to jibe your boat, you'll need to put the boat on a run. And now that the boat is running, the skipper will call out, "Stand by to jibe," or something to that effect, and the crew will be ready. The main sheet, the main sheet is loosened, and the skipper calls out, "Ready to jibe," as your final warning. And at that point, the sheet handler begins to take in that main sheet. Then the command, "Jibe ho," the skipper turns the rudder toward the direction of the turn, turns the tiller away from the direction desired, and the main sheet handler continues trimming. When the tiller is put over the boat's stern, begins to swing into the wind, and a moment later the boom will move across. Its speed depends largely on that strength of the wind and the control of the sheet handler. So it's a very active process, a jibe. In a perfectly timed and controlled jibe, the sheet handler will have trimmed the main boom close to the boom center line as the stern is swinging through the wind. If the main isn't yet all the way in, the helmsman will do well to pause for just that moment with the stern pointing into the wind while the trimmer catches up. This way, when the wind does move around the leech of the main and comes to bear on the opposite side, it doesn't move the boom too quickly. And then when the boom crosses the center line, the sheet handler lets the main sheet run but keeps some tension on it as he lets the boom out, cleats it, and simply applies pressure. It's a very controlled movement as the boom is let out and stops the boom, short of the lee shroud. You're settling down then on the new course. You'll trim and adjust the sails for optimum speed, but you do have to be aware of everyone's movement and being very aware of the new course and what you're aiming for. As you are on this new jibe strategy, it's important to realize the wind and the angle. So the picture showing on the screen now does show difference in wind angle and the angle you might take a jibe mark if you were running a mark and jibing specific to a triangular course strategy when we start talking about our racing strategy. So notice it's always about the angle of wind to our sail, and how we just adjust accordingly for the optimal speed and movement of the boat in the water. And a reminder about what we'll be talking about when it comes to our marks and our course strategy. In a triangular course, we have a windward mark, a jibe mark, and a leeward mark. And it all has to do with the angle of wind and the point of sail and the action we will have to take in order to steer the destination and steer the course for our vessel. So in summary, I hope you'll become familiar and practice with jibing till it becomes comfortable and second nature, just as tacking is with the boat. Take care and see you on the water.